quick update here on what I've been working on the last couple weeks. I've been doing all of these middle assemblies. These go between the lower and the upper modules, and they hold the upper 2 or 3 modules in place. So these are the standard grid charger with no heater, and then behind it is heaters. And then these are the upgraded grid charger with heaters, which is a lot of people have ordered those. I basically built what people have actually filled out the final forms for. And then these are the 1500 watts, the upgraded ones with no heater options. And so one of the things I had to do was basically put all of these holes in all of these pieces here. So we have these 6 holes here that mount the upper modules. The 5th module on the back has these 2 PEMserts so that you can just screw a bolt straight into it rather than have to try and hold a nut underneath. And then these, because you have 2 modules underneath it, they have a spacer, a threaded 1/4 inch spacer there. So there's no nuts that you have to install, which is really nice. And then, if you have the heaters, there's 3 heating elements on this middle guy. And then I haven't done the bottom trays. That's going to be what I work on next here. But they're going to have 12 resistors that go on something like that. And I actually downgraded the resistor size. I was using a 25 watt, and now I'm using a 15 watt. It's quite a bit smaller, fits a little better. Yeah, so I've been doing that. These assemblies took a little while, and now I still need to put all of the cables on them. The FoMoCo kits have a lot of harnesses. So you've got this guy was one of the 2. I don't know. These are all things. Now there's 2 different configurations here. This is both the standard and the upgraded one. Here's the temp sensor that goes on the grid charger. So you can see there's a lot of these cable assemblies you have to make. And I haven't made any of those in quantity. I have finished all these. I've finished the triacs, which are inside the fast thing. I've finished all the BMS cables, including 50 of these guys, which were a chore to make. This is what happens when you adapt a product to a battery that it wasn't designed for. There are all the standard resistors that will go for the heater on the tray. I will use all of those. I have the correct number to build, I think 37 of those. Most people have gotten the heater option. And then today, actually, I've just kind of run out of room. If you look, when I turn around, you can see I have shelving over there as well. And that's where I've been keeping a lot of LIBCM stuff. My goal was to only keep like raw stuff, like 100-foot lengths of cable and cable cover. But at this point, I am storing a lot of finished parts over there. And it's actually kind of annoying having to go grab certain things. And so what I did today is I cleared off all of this shelf space, which you see here. Previously had these containers in them, and today I made this. This is a utilitarian thing here. This is actually a dresser. I was going to make this anyway, and as I was biking home yesterday, I found this dresser on the side of the road, and it's of course been massively repurposed. It's actually attached to this wall, so this is extremely solid here. And so I'm sure y'all have seen these before, but this actually ended up taking me a lot of time to create, but it lets me put, I think it's 17 of these things in here that were previously on these 3 shelves. So now I can take some of the stuff over there and put it over here. Some of the stuff I have to access often, ferrite beads and things that I'm assembling. So you can see kind of how this works, nothing new here or whatever, but this is a big upgrade for me. The big issue before was that because they were sitting on top of each other, whenever I needed to get one, say I needed to get one that was 3 or 4 or 5 levels down, I had to go pick off 3 or 4 of them. Now, I can just come in here and just grab whichever one I need, which is really, really nice. So that's a nice little thing. When I did the time to improve process versus time saving or whatever, I spent about 2 more hours than I will recover over the next year. But then after that, it's all free. So I spent about 6 hours making this. It looks terrible again, but it's cool. I didn't actually buy any wood for this. It's literally just scraps of wood I had left over. So this is a project that cost me $0 and then also a lot of time. But anyway, kind of a nice upgrade there. That took me. I thought I could knock that out in 3 hours. It took more than twice that. Anyway, now I have some room over there. So yeah, what do I have left on these things? I need to make all of these cables and hook them up, which isn't going to be that bad. I'll watch Fleabag a few more times and I'll be done with all of those. And then LI control. So the controller, I still have not put this in my car. I need to do that as well because I need to order the next version. I already know this PCB won't be the shipping one because if you remember earlier, I actually got the PFET. Somehow I flipped the gate and the source, I believe. And I'm going to make a couple other changes too. So I already know that's going to Rev B, but I do need to get it in the car. I mean, I've tested it on the bench and it seems to work, but I need to get it in the car and actually make sure it works. So yeah, I definitely need to do LI control and order that. I still need to film the videos as well. And then yeah, I need to make all these cables. But I think these are the kind of the last things. Oh, and then I need to attach all of the heating elements. And that reminds me, I also need to fully debug this daughter board here. Again, I know this daughter board is not going to be the shipping board for the 1500 watt charger. There was a pad issue here, but it could be useful for LI control if you just have the standard grid charger and possibly the heating element. I don't remember. There's one of the things where I got the footprint wrong, and then I think I'm going to get rid of these tachometer inputs here. This was basically to tell if the fans were stalled. I haven't even actually tested that circuit yet. And I'm going to replace it because this tachometer, it's a pretty cool multiplex circuit. It's an analog multiplex circuit, so it multiplexes these 3 PWM trains down to a single analog value with just discrete components. I haven't tested it, but I'm pretty sure it'll work. But anyway, I'm going to get rid of it anyway. And then I guess if anyone ever wants a tachometer, I can send them one of these Rev A boards. But yeah, what am I going to replace this with? The DC-DC green-black wire. In my original plan, I had talked about being able to control the DC-DC converter when the car is on. And now that I'm using LI control, it's even more important because with the, I'm still using the alpha one that I have, just the one I hand soldered in my car. And whenever I force regen it into auto stop, it's not auto stop, but whenever I force stall the engine out, the DC-DC converter turns off because that's what the MCM does when the engine stalls out. And so I'm going to basically make it to where if you want to, you can hook, instead of the tachometer here, you'll be able to hook up the DC-DC's green-black wire in here. And that way LI BCM can actually control when the DC-DC converter is on or off. Now you can just cut that green-black wire and it will mostly work. I actually drove my car around for, I think, 8 or 9 months with that wire cut. The problem you run into is that you'll sometimes get the bypass contactor short circuit, P1645, I think what it is. For example, if you turn the ignition off and then you turn it right back on, and you have the green-black wire cut, then you'll get the IMA light P1645, I think. Whatever it is, 1545, regardless. Connecting the green-black wire to here will make it to where you don't get that. And then also when you do force stall the car out, LIBCM can know, hey, the car's still on. We're gonna keep the DC-DC on. But then LIBCM, when you first turn the key on, can actually hold the, it can disable the DC-DC converter until you've actually started the car. And then you won't get that P1645. So anyway, tach signal's probably gonna go away unless anyone really screams about that. I could keep the tach signal if I get rid of the CAN bus. And again, I don't really ever plan on developing the CAN bus. I have the header here for it. We'll see. I'm either going to get rid of tach or CAN bus. I know that Peter and I guess Sean also want the CAN bus. But again, I don't really see that ever going anywhere because I'm certainly not going to develop the CAN software for it. I got way too many things to do to be doing CAN. So, now that I think about it, I'll probably nuke CAN bus instead. That'll also let me get rid of these 2 connectors. More details, doesn't matter. So yeah, anyway, it's certainly coming along. These middle assemblies are very time consuming to build, particularly the 1500 watt grid chargers. They end up taking me a lot more time than I thought. And yeah, it's really nice. I've got a lot more storage room here now that I got rid of half the modules and they're in California. We'll come over here. I think we've already looked at a lot of this stuff. These ribbon cables are done. Those are done. The covers, I need to basically add the hardware to, but they're done. These I know I've mentioned are all finished. Here's the LIBCM. I have sent a few of these out. So I originally built 22 and I think I'm down to 19 or so that'll ship out. Here's the 50 or so. These are BMS cables. I've got all the felt cut here. So that's all ready. More cables up there. PCBs, these are all finished like that. And then a bunch more grid chargers up here-ish. Anyway, yeah, so it's certainly getting there. It's a slow process because I've kind of switched to just trying to build all 50 of them at once because I don't really plan on making any more unless we find a whole bunch more modules. Yeah, that is the state of where we're at. Yep, as always, thanks for watching.